I won't read all this out now. But, you know, this was where it's quite, you know, this is where it's kind of we realised that at the outset, that was the error. That was the error that we made of the scheme. And it was too late then. But we do have some examples, obviously, of behavioural change, but there is this limited, limited evidence. There was a mindset shift that was, you know, that was definitely clear. And how, you know, they've started to, this company itself had started to work with much more agencies and other professional agencies and freelancers. So they'd realised that, you know, this external, this open innovation actually was really benefiting their company. The operational benefits, you know, thinking differently, you know, they explained that their creative partner had encouraged them to think, you know, very differently about their products and bring the 3 websites that they'd got together. So they had learned, you know, operational benefits were there. One SME had noticed that the cooperation had improved and that they were thinking differently in terms of innovation. And they were working so close together. They probably actually were one of the biggest success stories because they were so close together that actually the creative had started to work some time in their offices as well. So that was a really strong relationship. And the sales, I mean, which is so crucial to the SME sector as a whole. This had actually encouraged, and they had lots of extra products on Amazon, orders coming in daily. And they will also obviously work with their creative partner again. But they will work, what we see is that they work short time, move on, and then they'll work again with somebody. The key is actually that you are the organisation that they want to come back to for their next piece of work. That's the key, and that's where the relationship building, you know, those nuances, the subtle stuff, you know, promising something and delivering something. Saying that you'll have a meeting, not cancelling, not being late. If you're going to phone, explaining, you know, right from the word go, making sure that the procedures are agreed by both parties and the outcome is agreed by both parties, because that's where we saw the failures. Okay, so these are just examples from the 11 success stories in the qualitative. Improve the image. I mean, as we said, the large majority were web-based, much more on the design end. And this, you know, it's changed the way that people perceive us, because instead of looking like a clacky old website that was slightly embarrassed, it looked like I wanted it to look. So kind of really then relishing, you know, the skills and creativity that you as a sector offer. And I have to be honest, in my view, and I say this hand on heart, the sector that needs you desperately, not just the private sector, is also the public sector. You know, the public sector, and we see in the UK, so many of our local authorities, our own local authority, which is the biggest local authority in Europe, is actually, through the organisational redesign, is now having wholly owned companies. It's breaking up into wholly owned companies. And and that's happening across the public sector, and they desperately need the creativity that you offer. And it's an area that's really well neglected in terms of how they present themselves, how they market themselves. And then sort of the unified marketing message that you'd sort of seen from a message here. The main impact we've had is the little mascot man, the little robot, because he also appears on the hard copy material that we produce as well. So that was embedded. That will continue as a feature of the organisation. Okay, so summing up then, it was Creative Credits, because it was a business-to-business scheme, was the first scheme in the UK anyway to involve the creatives so that they were recipients of an innovation voucher scheme. And it was one that business to business, which was actually better for the economy than sort of business to academia or business to research institutes. The short-term additionality was good, but the longer-term behavioural effects were weak, and that's our learning curve, you know. And then if we go back, why the timing, you know, was poor because of the economic climate. But mainly, you know, the biggest problem was the wrong choice of creative partner. And that really was, had we have had this different brokerage, I think we might have eliminated that. So in terms of implementation, do consider the brokerage carefully. I know you've got lots of support coming now, you know, from what's being offered, and, you know, do take it. And I'm sure that the companies that actually sign up to work with you, that they will want that brokerage support as well. And also, although don't implement schemes in a recession, well, if we don't do them, actually, we won't do them at all. So, because that's, you know, without, you know, that's life at the moment. Our follow-up material, if you want to look at any of this, it's on the NESTA website. There's the Guide to Creative Credits, which is a practical handbook. There's the first set of evaluation results, where actually it was a rosier picture than it is now. And then the final report, we're just crossing the T's and dotting the I's on it. So it's been going around the team for about 2 months, with everybody adding their bits in. And, but we've got to go to press within a couple of weeks. So, and that will be on the NESTA website as well. So it should be quite useful. And if there's, you know, anything we can do, you know, to help, we will, because we just want to see the success. And it's really good to see so many creatives here now, because as a non-creative person, I just think you do such a I have to say, just a fantastic, wonderful job in what you do. It's a great sector, great sector. One of the funny things, I will tell you, and I'll finish then because I've overrun, sorry. One of the funny things, one company went to visit, one creative went to visit one of the SMEs when they were just matching up. And when he came, he said to the SME, he said, I thought you were from the police. He said, you know, the way you're dressed, you look like a policeman. When we spoke to this SME, he said, I haven't worn a tie since. He said, that's what I must look like to everybody. It was absolutely classic, you know. It was, so good luck with the scheme. I hope you'll get registered today. It's great to meet you all. Thank you.
Yasmin is going to go around here with this roving mic. So if anybody has any questions for Judy, and then we will also be putting her slides up online, so you will be able to see them after the event.
Okay, my name is Una Parsons. I'm going to take your questions for Judy to answer. I'd just like to say thank you very much to Judy, giving us some very open and frank insights on a similar programme in the UK. We can definitely learn from the highs and the lows. And so if you could raise your hand, wait for the microphone, and when you start to talk, maybe just give us your name and what creative you're from. So can we have the first question, please? Gentleman in the back, third from the end there, please.
Morning, Niall Harding from town.ie. I'm not a creative, but I have a creative business. I have creative people about me. And it came about because I think of the difficulties you've mentioned in the brokerage side of things. I spent an awful lot of money going to people, creative people, who said they were, and they were the wrong match, or they didn't keep their promises, they overpromised, or they couldn't perform. They had their own idea. They'd learned something from a small box and didn't see the big picture. And the mismatch was really the crux, and it resulted in the business that I've created now. And in listening to what you've been saying today, it seems to be the brokerage side of it. If you want to employ an accountant or a bookkeeper, an accountant can assess that person's ability or qualification. A solicitor, you understand what the qualifications are. But in relation, in particularly to website design and programming and functionality, they are separate things in terms of design and programming, I've learned at this stage. But there is no way for people who, like myself in business, can assess this situation. So even making a choice through the likes of, I would say, a directory, or the likes of what's shown on screen, or proposals that are made, or propositions made in terms of promotional material by those who would say they can give you the services that they require, you have no way of assessing, is there any standard by which these people have a qualification or can prove their ability. And as you've said in your research, some found out the hard way that they had mismatched. So inability to assess and recruit and partner, and maybe inability within the whole design industry is a problem because there isn't a standardisation. And has anybody taken any addressing in their mind to that particular issue?
Not that I know of, because I suppose because the nature of creativity is the creativity. What our SMEs, we had a list of suggestions that they made at the end of the project, and they said we needed to take references. We need to, if we had to have taken references from other organisations that they'd worked with, we'd have been able to have checked out that they actually could do what we needed them to do. So I think probably at the moment the only thing, and probably maybe a good thing for you all to think about, is to actually give references of people who've been satisfied, you know, with your work, etc. That's that way. But in terms of the actual, in terms of like kite mark things, I mean, I couldn't answer that. I don't know if you know, if anybody else knows.
I'll address it later.
Thank you. Sally will address that later. Yeah.
Okay. Hands up. Next question. Lady here in the third row.
I suppose it's not really a question, but I just want to highlight, I suppose, like what we're doing today obviously is networking, and I just find, especially with the creative industry, it's good old-fashioned word of mouth is always the best way to get any sort of reputation around, and I think to get a fair response is always by making sure that you network quite broadly, so nothing is biased as well. So it's just something to say.
Yeah, I agree totally. I mean, I think in a sense, you know, as an academic who we do research, you know, we live and die on our reputation. We're like chefs, really. You know, one bad meal and that's it. You know, you don't go there again. So I mean, we're in massive competition, obviously, as well. You know, to kind of win, you know, research bids, etc. So we do, you know, we have to be what we have to do. We have to be rigorous. We have to be honest. We have to be ethical. We have to work hard at these things. You know, we try not to promise we never promise what you can't deliver. And if we promise what we can't deliver, we actually go the extra mile to deliver it in the end anyway. So I think it's that kind of, you know, that reputation building is, you know, it's essential, because, you know, if the people lose trust on you, you go down like a plate of glass. Really, it just crashes.
Okay, anyone else? The lady beside her.
I was just thinking that at the moment it seems to be that you're putting a business and they're picking one other business, so the business decides that they want web design. It seems to be based on that at the moment. But what creative people do, they think differently. So I was just thinking, have you thought of maybe getting like a random group of creative people together to brainstorm for this company, in that they may not need a website at all. Maybe they need like morale building, or maybe they need, you know, a different way of doing a warehouse. That creative people would just bounce lots of different ideas out, and maybe that's what they need most.
Yeah, I suppose that's probably the sort of thing that you could do with the speed dating. I suppose that you know, so that what you're getting is a much broader kind of perspective on what actually your needs actually are. I mean, I get one example we had, because we also ran the index, which was the Innovation Delivers Expansion Innovation Voucher Scheme for Aston University, and we employed an external creative, and at the time I was writing text for the website, and he said, you can't put this sort of text on like a website, it's just ridiculous, just put everybody off. And so, you know, it was actually, you know, and it's that kind of, those sort of knowledge, and him knowing what to do, him knowing how to make our website look really pristine, was just absolutely amazingly invaluable, you know. But those, you know, it's valuing, I think it's something about, you know, valuing obviously the skills of the person, but also valuing, having confidence. We had enormous confidence in that person who, you know, gave us, really enhanced this piece of research that we were actually doing. And this is what I see in the councils. You know, I look at, you know, and I look at our council website, it's so convoluted, you know, you can't even go through it. And just this bit, the bit I've learned, you know, that bit of creative transfer I've learned from our partner that way has given me a little snippet of knowledge into what the creatives can do for you, in a sense of as a business, because, you know, we are all, whether you're a university, a local authority, or an SME or a corporate, we're all operating a business basically.